Let's talk about research first. Why do we do research? Why do we put in these authentic details? It's because our stories are so implausible. And they should be. Every good story pushes the envelope of plausibility. We don't want to write about everyday, mundane, ordinary events. We leave that to Marcel Proust. He's good at it. We want to write about the extraordinary. There's a Scott Fitzgerald story called A Diamond as Big as the Ritz. Two boys are boasting to one another. They're having what my wife Barbara calls a dick-waving contest. And one of the boys says, "My father has a diamond as big as the Ritz-Carlton Hotel." And the great thing about the story is that by the end of the story, you believe it. He really does have a diamond as big as the Ritz. That is the skill of the storyteller, in this case Fitzgerald, in making something absolutely outrageous seem possible. The Da Vinci Code is a good example of a wildly implausible story. I mean, really, we're asked to believe that people will kill each other in an argument about whether Jesus had sex with Mary Magdalene. But of course, it's surrounded with all these authentic details about great works of art. And that distracts the reader's mind from the fact that the story is implausible. We surround the implausible story with a great deal of concrete detail. Hitler walked in wearing his favorite grey uniform. That's the kind of thing. Now, in the early days of thrillers, somebody could pull a gun. You can't, in a John Buchan story, somebody could just pull out you can't pull out a gun anymore. It has to be, at a minimum, you have to say it's a 9mm Luger or something. And that's really the fault of two writers, Ian Fleming and Frederick Forsyth, both of whom started to give us fascinating detail in thrillers. And particularly after The Day of the Jackal had been published, we all had to change the way we write thrillers. We all had to pay more attention to those details. Let's think about guns for a moment. 9mm Luger is all right. It's better than gun, but we can do better than that. Most guns have characteristics. Most guns have a personality, even if you just say, after 20 rounds, it overheated and jammed, or it might overheat and jam. A gun has a personality. In Fall of Giants, Grigory, one of my principal characters, gets a standard issue Russian army infantry rifle in 1914 called a Mosin Nagant. This has two interesting characteristics. It has a spike bayonet. Now, a bayonet's usually a blade, and the fact that this is a spike, I liked that detail because it reminds you of what a bayonet's for. It reminds you that it's actually for sticking in some poor guy. It's meant to break his bones and make him bleed. Just the fact that it's a spike makes you think about that. The other thing about the Mosin Nagant is that the safety mechanism was a knob that had to be turned, and this could not be done while the weapon was shouldered. So that gave me a little moment later on. When Grigory actually has to use this gun to shoot at somebody, he first has to put it on his lap, hold it with two hands, and turn the knob of the safety mechanism. And that's only a beat, of course, but a scene of suspenseful action is made of beats like that. That's the whole thing you need, 15 of those. And if you can use some characteristic of the gun in a small way later on, you've kind of justified giving those research details. We've always got to avoid giving the reader the impression that we copied this paragraph directly into the book from Google, haven't we? I mean, that's it. They think that sometimes. They'll say it if you make a mistake. So you don't just want to give the details, you want to use them in some small way that's convincing. Finally, so we do the research, we put in the details, we use the details, and there's one more thing we can do with research, which is use it to reveal character. The character's feelings about the gun may reveal something about him or her. There's a passage in a James Bond story where Bond talks to the armorer about the advantages and disadvantages of different types of handgun. This one is a little awkward to draw, sometimes snags on the inside of your jacket. That one is inaccurate at medium range. This one has a magazine that only holds 5 rounds. And in this discussion, which is all about details, mechanical, technical details, you get a thrilling sense of a man whose life is all about danger. And he has feelings about these guns. This one is going to save his life. This one is going to cause him a problem. This one is going to be, not going to be able to shoot all the people he's got to shoot. So those details, they're not just mundane, and they're not just concrete details, as it were, for decoration. They can do all sorts of work. It doesn't have to be a gun. In The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Lisbeth Salander has to buy a new laptop. And Larson gives us all the details about the laptop she buys because, of course, for her, the laptop is as important as Bond's 9mm Beretta with the skeleton grip. And quite right, therefore, that when somebody who is presented to us as a wizard hacker, quite right that when she buys a laptop, she's going to be very interested in the details. In fact, I think Larson actually missed a beat there, because he doesn't tell us the emotion she feels about her laptop, and I think that would have made a nice extra paragraph. It doesn't have to be an object, be a landscape, cityscape, all of these things. If you research these things, you can get more out of them than the bare details. One more example, and then we'll move on. I expect at least half the people in this room know that the headquarters of the KGB was in Lubyanka Square in Moscow, and that it was a neo-Baroque building made of yellow brick that used to be the headquarters of an insurance company. Now think of what... that's a great sentence to put in a thriller. Think of the things we get out of it. Realism. It reminds the reader that the KGB is not something that the author made up to scare you. It's real. They have an address, Lubyanka Square. It reminds you of the history. There used to be insurance companies in Moscow. It reminds you that there was a revolution, and that before the revolution, people there had a different existence. And finally, and maybe this is a stretch, but I think the reader would get it unconsciously, there's a tragic irony here. This used to be an insurance company. Now it's an office of a government that is not creating a workers' paradise, but is murdering and torturing everybody in the Soviet Union who disagrees with it. So there's the tragic irony there, which I think would be in the back of the reader's mind. And you get all that from one line which describes a building. Those are some ways in which you can enhance the reader's experience by doing the research and by using it well.